I'm going to jump quickly in, and I'll take my presentation in 4 parts. The first part would be some background about the company to put things into perspective. The second portion, I'm going to talk about the key challenge that faced us in view of our ambitions. Third part, I would like to talk about the role of Emergenetics in the whole scheme of things. And lastly, I will share why we think Emergenetics has worked in our company and some key takeaways. Some genesis. In 1998, 2 big conglomerates merged. It was Sembcorp Technologies with a whole host of companies and another conglomerate from Sembawang Corporation. We created a group that is now called Sembcorp Industries Limited, and we concentrate on 3 areas of business: energy, in the marine business, and urban development. This transformation has taken us quite a few years, and here I'd like to bring your attention to how we started. We had something like 15 businesses. Then over time, about 7 to 8 years, we decided to streamline the businesses, unlocked value for the company, and built a war chest for the next level of investment. Post-2006, we are now looking at growth from 3 sectors: utilities, marine, urban development, and of course we will concentrate on profits, asset growth, and geographical spread. So you can see there, over a 10-year period, it's something like a cumulative average growth rate of about 20%. Not too bad, I suppose. This slide shows you that in our areas of business, it is not by chance. We looked at global trends. We saw a growing need for energy, water scarcity. There are a lot of water-stressed regions in the world. And of course, global urbanization. We should not also forget the increasing environmental awareness that is always at the back of our minds. Some perspective of size. I will share with you our geographical spread and business growth. We started in 2006, something like 35 locations in 10 countries, over 5 continents. Today, we are spread over 16 countries across 6 continents. We said in 2011, we'd like to build 2 pillars, one in marine, one in utilities. By 2016, we expect these 2 pillars to contribute half and half in terms of profits. And we're building a third, which we call urban development. This is obviously to address the very, very quick globalization and urban development that is coming on stream. I recall in 2011 when the board of directors sat down together with senior management to talk about the longer term growth of the company, 10 years and beyond. A key challenge kept coming up, and that was about people. To support this agenda, we identified some building blocks. We created a leadership framework, and we wanted to identify, develop, and deploy the next generation of talent and leaders for critical roles across the organization. So if you imagine the first block, it would be identifying the right people for the right jobs and roles. So we had to look at the organization structure. Then we asked ourselves, is it good enough just to produce profits? Is it good enough just to achieve key performance indicators? How do we make that sustainable? And we said we should be looking at behaviors. These behaviors stem from the values of the organization. And if we measure that gap, how do we close that gap? And this is the third pillar where we talk about development. So we designed a platform to accelerate people development to support the company's growth aspirations. We call this platform My Career Journey at Sembcorp. At the heart of this platform is the competency framework designed to set expectations and measure development gaps. I will explain this in a while. My Career Journey at Sembcorp aligns development of the organization and individuals. Let's talk about the organization. What does it want? It wants results. It wants to build capabilities and behaviors that last. So we looked at the performance management system. We talked about expectations, measuring the gaps, and filling the gaps with training and development. We also looked at the individual. Now, what does the individual want? Every employee has an aspiration. So we looked at the Team Insights programs to help them discover themselves and the people they work with. And of course, the tool that we use here would be Emergenetics. The performance appraisal system will capture employee deliverables and those aspirations. When we put the two together, the output would be the learning and development plan. It actually bridges the needs of the organization and the individual. And it sits on the Sembcorp Enablement Center, where we will develop the people based on certain platforms through experiential learning, exposures, and through formal training. Now, this is the competency framework that I'm talking about. Insight, integral, integrity. These are the core values of the company. But what does it mean? We spent time in 2011 to talk about what it means, and we described behaviors. Now, this is not all, because the details would also show you exactly the behaviors that we would expect to see in every employee. And of course, at the heart of this is the role model. The role model is the epitome of what we're trying to do here. And you can see the descriptors in there. There are three primary ways to identify development needs of a person. First, we look at ourselves. And you can see that Emergenetics is highlighted here and featured. It drives recruitment for roles and positions and work teams. We talked about competencies, and we have divided them into core competencies, in which we need every employee to be aware of and to exhibit those behaviors. And functional competencies, those behaviors that are associated with the kind of work that you do. And for roles and groups of jobs, we have actually identified those behaviors. And of course, you need technical knowledge. So this is just illustrative, an example of the kind of technical knowledge that we would feel in a person who, for example, needs to run coal plants. This is a chart that shows you how we actually harnessed Emergenetics. We use team building programs as an intervention for leading change, and Emergenetics is used as a common platform. So we talked about building self-awareness, enhancing interpersonal communication, and developing teams. The outcome, of course, eventually is to have a common language for teamwork and to set goals. When we started this, it was like small. It was a group that we put together. We started with, I believe, the finance team. Through word of mouth, after a while, we had people knocking on our doors. What is that you did with that team over there? What is it called again? We would like to have the same. So if you look at the Team Insights program, we merely talked about Emergenetics as a tool, and it's meant to help you understand yourself. And of course, of the colleagues that you work with. And after a few years, it became a team-facilitated session. Of course, Emergenetics is always used as a common language and as a refresher. It always starts that way. And then it becomes very associated with work goals. You can see from here, we start off with gems and challenges. Then we start forming task forces, and these task forces actually see through the objectives that they need and the KPIs that they need to deliver. So this is the pattern that we use. Moving forward, we will focus more on goal setting, objective implementation. We intend to roll out to other countries. We have actually rolled it out to the Middle East. China, not yet, but we will soon do. In the next few weeks, we will be going to India. To hold this understanding, we need a stretch for them. So here and there, we do hold small little events, pockets of events. It could be over lunch, it could be over tea. We will help hold that stretch of Emergenetics. So why does Emergenetics work for us? Most people view it as a safe tool among many psychometric profiling tools. We have used psychometric profiling tools before, but many of our colleagues are afraid of it. Often they say that we don't want to do this because after we do this, you're going to do something to us. But when we introduced Emergenetics, they realized that we have promised them that it was something for themselves to use. And it has been like that since. We have found it easy to administer. It doesn't take much. It is indeed a common language to look at ourselves and of our colleagues. In fact, this common language, you can see it appearing many times over social gatherings, over work. For example, when we walk into a meeting, anecdotally, they will say, hey, you know, we are very well equipped because we've got the different brains in the room. So the language is there. It is easy to understand, and because it's easy to understand,
this conference appears to be inactive and will be ended soon. If you are the host and wish this conference to continue, please press any key on your telephone touchpad.
It is easy to learn and apply. The fee is manageable, and of course we get buy-in from the CEO. If I have some time here, I'd like to explain also, recently when we did a senior management meeting, I placed a name tag with the Emergenetics profile of each person in there. And I wanted to observe the behavior when they walked into the room. Some will look at it, put it aside. Some will look at it and wear it over their necks. When the CEO walked in, I observed his behavior. He picked it up, looked at it on both sides, and put on the tag. When he did the opening address, he showed everybody his Emergenetics colors. So that really told me that he is bought in. Some key takeaways, start small. We use internal champions. We use evangelizers. We have moved away from the traditional application of using them, let's say, for hiring and for assessment. And we apply Emergenetics through small ecosystems, small groups of people. And of course, holding that stretch in many ways as possible. That's very important. And that's it.
Thank you very much, Grace. And of course, that was Grace Quek, who is the Senior Vice President of the Sembcorp Industries, and she's Senior Vice President of Organization Development. And Grace was sharing with us how she has used Emergenetics in helping her develop people, develop the team, and also to achieve the company's goals and objectives. So we'd now like to just open the session for some questions. So if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box, which you can find on the bottom right corner of your screen. Just type your questions and we would facilitate that question for Grace to answer. But to really get the session going, I'll have a question for Grace. So thank you very much for sharing with us, a very practical example of how you've used Emergenetics. And I think a few things stood out for me. One of which was really how you managed to even get the CEO to have that sense of a buy-in. Now, assuming we have people who are equally inspired to use Emergenetics in their organizations, what were some of the earlier challenges or fears? I know you mentioned a couple. For example, some of the people in the organization may feel that, oh, we've done psychometric tools. We're afraid that you're going to do something bad to us if we do the Emergenetics profile. But from your experience, what would be some tips that you could give to people who would really like to embark on embedding Emergenetics as a common language, as a common platform within their organization?
I like to use the word pilot. I noticed that when we start off with what we call pilot, it's like a test. And once you start on that little small project, if it works, people will come to you. And this is how we proliferated Emergenetics in our organization. It was not meant to be a big thing. It was not meant to be for everyone. We needed to help the group finance team in their off-site meeting. And like I said, I thought it would be good to start the meeting with a psychometric tool that will help everyone to, first of all, get to know themselves and their colleagues. So it started that way. And the word spread, and after a while, I would call them internal customers who came to me and said, can we have that as well? We want the same thing. And now it has become so big that there is, by the way, remember I said it helped in leading change. Do you know what's that change right now? They don't need us to organize those things anymore. Every year they would have this, and they would put Emergenetics as the base. Going forward, this is a good thing because we need to get onto the next stage. What is the next stage? Of course, goal setting, using it to deliver the key performance indicators, solving issues. Those are the things that they're using it for now. And I see previously we never had such off-site meetings. Previously they never had team meetings to actually talk about the longer-term plans for their department. So this to me has been a change. Change is, after all, not an event, but it is a process. Over to you.
It's fantastic. Yes, thank you. And I think you touched on a very important point, which is really about a process and how Emergenetics can really provide that common platform as well as a language in which you can lead change, which really is a process rather than just an endpoint or an event. I've also heard during your presentation that you are looking at bringing Emergenetics into places like India and also potentially also into China. Would you foresee any cultural differences or in terms of perception, in terms of how they would welcome an approach like Emergenetics in other parts of the world?
That's a very good question, Terence. Reason being, we introduced that to the Middle East last year. There were two locations. One in Fujairah. This is just about an hour and a half outside of Dubai. The other location was at Salalah, which is in Oman. Culturally, in the Emirates, they are a little different. Even the language may be slightly different. But we used English and we kept our fingers crossed. We thought it would be very difficult, thinking that would be a language barrier. But no, it didn't. So as facilitators, we actually had to break it down do it slowly, and take them through very, very simple concepts. As I'm speaking right now, Jayanta, who has just been certified, is now in the Middle East, and he's doing year 2 now, and they're going to the second level. From the CEO, we did it for CEO -1, they're now going to CEO -2. In terms of India, that's a very big group over there that's going to do it first time. They're going in about 3 weeks' time. And interestingly, the CEO who is in charge of all the assets around the world, our plants around the world, he is also going to introduce this to the Indian business community, I'm told. So these are some of the things that we are doing. They have already indicated that it is unlikely that they will see any barriers in terms of language, because the Indians do speak and speak English quite comfortably. Other than that, it seems, we didn't see any problems, or not yet so far.